Okay. Now I'll try to explain a little bit better what we were trying to say during the panel, okay? So, and also trying to squeeze the experience of Block Invest in the last 4.5 years. I mean, let me start with a brief background. I'm coming from construction engineer, so I had a very quiet life in construction industry. I used to work as a project manager in a huge corporation, and I learned about cryptos 2015-16, and was lucky enough to be able to quit my job and start a new career. So when we were in Zug in Crypto Valley, in the first startup I was working on, basically we realized that crypto was nice, but was, let's say, just speculation. Speculation is good because without speculation, a lot of great projects will never be there. Okay, so altogether, I think we financed all this project, and without cryptos, Block Invest will never exist. So the goal of the company was basically to, take all the good that we have in the crypto space, instant transaction, transparency, and trying to find, as I was saying, the best compromise in a hyper-regulated environment. That's why we like to define ourselves as a bridge, okay, between the traditional finance and the blockchain, or rather the structured finance, otherwise they get offended. So it's not an easy game, but we do that by providing a tokenization engine that is designed exactly to enable not only the tokenization of assets, which is represent on-chain a real-world asset, but issue natively on-chain a real-world asset, which sounds similar, but is not the same. Natively means that this value is not kept in a book record of a custodian or something, but exists only on the blockchain. Okay, we were discussing about the liquidity issue. It can be solved probably to have native tokenized asset. And to do that, we basically realized that building a nice tech that can be adopted by the financial institution is not enough, will never be enough. So the first things that we did, apart from building the solution with security first approach, was to build a solution compliant first approach, starting from the EU regulation. So we built up our smart contract factories, try to understand, like the doctor, right? So the doctor, push until it hurt. And we did that, and we were helped by our regulator. So everyone that is saying that it's hard to build something in Italy because we don't have a regulatory regime, the regulator are not willing to embrace the new technology, they don't know what they're talking about. We are actively talking with our two regulators actually in Italy since a year and a half. So there is a lot of attention. People are learning enough to understand that tokenize something, issue a token is doable, but procedural, you know, the word's procedural, it's a pain. And solve the procedural issue is the only way to make it happen, because there are a lot of constraints in issue native tokenized assets, which are the procedure, business procedure, legal procedure, compliance procedure. And this is what Block Invest does, basically. We squeezed all this mess in a tech solution that is vertical for the different business sector. Just a few words about us. We launched the company. I was still in Switzerland when I launched the company in Italy, and we immediately tried to get a very particular market, the non-performing loan market, that It's a market that no one touch it, probably also because in the US they don't have too much non-performing loan. In Europe we have, particularly in South Europe. So we started immediately with that market. Quite proud to say that we are the first Italian startup in which Crédit Agricole Bank invested back in December 2021. There were no regulation at the time in Italy, so we started providing the solution for the first green bonds in Luxembourg. So again, native digital bond, and actually the green part was really interesting because we exploited the blockchain not only for tokenize and raise money, but also to put transparency into the system. So again, data matters. Then, I mean, the company, started to, embrace also the Italian market. We got selected by Euronext for the pre-IPO program, but mainly we made 2 pilot projects with the Bank of Italy, and our goal is getting their attention to understand how to design what we call the block ID. Again, the tokenization of the finance, it's important, but the first things that we need to care about is the identity. Silvio, as an asset manager, was talking about the importance to treat the retail investor. We are not all equal, okay? If you put something on chain and you want to really exploit the benefit of instant settlement, cutting information asymmetries, whatever, you need to understand who is buying that token and what can do with that token. So it's what we did with this project, with this pilot project, and also helped by the head of compliance and an AML of an important Italian bank. Last but not least, as I was saying, we are talking about always US project, but we are quite proud to say that we contribute in the first, one of the first native digital bonds, and was made in Italy. The other one was made by KfW in Germany. So it's doable, but just with, following some precise steps that are required by the regulation. Before I was saying that we hypothetically can tokenize everything, but probably we don't need that, okay? I don't know if that painting is an NFT, probably. If it was, now it's broken, but I don't know if the NFT has the same value. We grabbed our offering in 3 sectors. The first one is capital market. We're talking about bonds and equities. I personally believe that we don't need to tokenize stocks, okay? I know how the equity capital market works in the stock exchange. The blockchain probably will never be able to reach their performances, never, okay? So the public market is better where it is. We are focused more on the private one. There is a huge gap between what happens in the stock exchanges and what happens in the private market. When you have billion value transaction made via email, someone is still using fax. It's not a joke. The other one is the securitization. So the issuance of notes of SPV vehicle that, can manage different underlying. The first and probably the most interesting one is the non-performing exposure. So the bad credit that the banks now are obliged to sell. And there is a huge market in terms of volume, few operators involved, a lot of information asymmetries, a lack of liquidity. So this is, I think one of the most interesting market that can be tokenized. Not only the bad credit with real estate collateral, but also, let's say, active real estate operation. Last but not least, which is probably in terms of volume will be the bigger one, is the asset management. So the tokenization of fund units, particularly which it's worth. It's something that now we buy from our banks. I don't know if someone invests in, I think everyone invests in funds, even without knowing it. We pay a lot of fees, So they make money. The banks makes money, and I mean, we take probably the smallest percentage of gain of the funds. We think that for the asset management, we need to treat differently closed-ended funds and open-ended funds, because the open-ended funds, like monetary market funds or global equity funds, whatever, you have the benefit of, let's say, a strongly improved processes. Now you have a settlement in T+4, T+5. So I invest in something and I receive the value of my investment in 5 days from now. With the blockchain, you can do it in 1 day. You still have, 1 day to wait because you need to have the net asset value on chain of the fund's value. Instead of the closed-ended funds, which is really interesting for many, let's say, classical investors, you have the lack of liquidity, okay? You have the closed maturity funds that, last 7 to 12 years, sometimes even 15, and you are locked up. So you invest in something that for at least 7 years need to remain there. It's really hard to build with the traditional centralized system a secondary market. So what they did in the past, they went on the stock exchange and they listed it. The drawback was that they discounted the net asset value by 20–25% on average. So they delisted basically all the funds. All the funds. There are very few funds listed. And this is something that can be built with a pure tokenized infrastructure. But, this is the core of my intervention is everyone is talking about tokenization of real-world asset. Tokenization is art, more than we thought. We discussed that also in Token 2049 in Dubai. No one thinks that you need to follow some processes, okay? When you have a value which is on chain, you need to understand what comes before, okay? All the value chain. The token in our business basically represent less than 15% of the blockchain transaction, less than 50%. So the other 85% are on-chain transactions that you need to make to set up the operation. So having something which is on-chain, I use the blockchain to trade value and trust, is, it's easy because it was built for that. But structure the operation, if the token needs to be just on-chain, it takes a lot of steps. Another thing, we are in an open market, okay? The country regulations are different, as we were saying before. So you need to understand where is the issuer, where are the investors. Depending on where the investor is, you need to adapt something. So it's very challenging, okay? A real pain is, regard the legacy tool, okay? When you deal with structured financial institutions, they have legacy tool. They probably invest millions of euro in setting up this ancient software tool, and you need to adapt the blockchain with that. So the other critical part is how to make a consistency between tools. The walleting, I will be very brief on that. Walleting is still missing. So it's still for nerd. I love all the decentralized wallet, but you cannot ask a traditional investor or a financial institution to use MetaMask or even use Coinbase Wallet. It's hard. So it needs to be put on the back end and manage a better user experience. Another things that no one consider in the classical finance is that now the finance move with market hours. The blockchain, which is great, is 24/7. But you need to, train your smart contract to understand the cutoff time. So you need to train your platform to understand that tomorrow is Saturday and the day after tomorrow is Sunday. So you cannot trade potentially. So in the short term, you need to make this effort. In the long term, probably, and we wish that there will be no market hours. But the transition will take, I think, at least 15 years. just what's next, our idea, and now we want to contribute to this evolution of the on-chain finance. So first of all, the Web3 identity, okay? We make KYC, we make AML, but the data are really sensible to touch. So the only way to have an open market and manage liquidities and let liquidity provider work on it is to better protect the investor data and working in zero knowledge proof methodology in creating a digital identity. The digital identity will never be created by Block Invest. It will be created by the European Union. But what we are trying to do is contribute a little bit to understand what is the investor profile that you need to squeeze in a token, okay? So what we call Block ID. The second thing is the cash on chain, okay? The other huge piece. The classical financial world is not using stablecoin. We don't have a euro stable. I mean, we have a couple stablecoin, but it's like, I don't know, 50 million in total. It's nothing. So we are trying to understand what is the best solution if to use the cash leg in the TradFi and bridge it on chain, or if the market will embrace a stablecoin. We don't know that. The market will decide. And the last things that we are doing, I would say autonomously, is the Block Invest global market. So the bigger risk that we have in our industry is to build Chinese wall. So we have a decentralized system, but if everyone builds its own platform, I mean, it was better than the classical world. So basically what we are doing is providing a way to structure the operation for, I mean, all our clients in the different verticals, but a way, if it's possible by law, to reconcile in a unique place, which unique global market, that is not Block Invest platform. We just provide the API to plug and play, potentially to the most distributors as possible, this kind of data. So, and this is the only way that it can work, but for a very simple reason. It's not Block Invest that put the value on chain. A value is not real because it's on chain. I could put on chain that I'm an NBA player, but I'm not, unlikely for me. But it's because the institutional guys that are entitled to do that put that value on chain and use the blockchain for what it is, a transactional ledger. That's it. It's no more than that, okay? It's not like something more abstract. It's very simple, transactional ledger. So if you have the right to put that value, to structure that value on chain, you can use this network to create what we don't have in the classical finance, a capital market union. Even in Europe, even with all the Euronext venues in Europe, we don't have a capital market union. It's really hard to build a centralized system. Probably the blockchain is the only technology, which even if it's really hard to use, but is the only technology that potentially can enable the capital market union.